What I love about remote viewing is that it's the most demonstrable way to show people that the mind is not in the brain. And if we can show people the mind is not in the brain, then we can show them that the reality, afterlife is a reality. It's a very common experience. Many people have the ability, and you can also learn how to do it, at least to some extent. So you're going to need is you're going to need a dozen or so sheets of paper and a pen or pencil. So why don't you assemble those? And while you're assembling them, I'm going to go ahead and start explaining what this is. I'll refer to seeing things in the mind, and you may not get mind pictures. If you don't get pictures in your mind, that's aphantasia. It's very common. That's not unusual. And there are two cognitive styles. One is that you can get vague gray images, and the other is that you get very good images. The gray images are coming from a cognitive style called a verbalizer, because you get things in impressions and in words more. And the visual images that you get, then if you're very good at that, then that's called visualizer. So you will be somewhere on the continuum between being a verbalizer and a verbalizer and a visualizer. I've got a cat in my lap. And so what we're going to do is, if I say something like see, then if you're a verbalizer, you get the impression. And so don't feel bad if you don't actually get something that you see. So what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to give you some examples of remote viewing so you can see what it is that remote viewing does. And then after that, then I'll see whether you are able to remote view. Okay, so remote viewing is the ability to sit someplace and close your eyes and get images in your mind, and you can get images and sounds, you can get sensations, feelings of touch, texture. So all of those things will come to you in your mind, but you have to allow them to come. And so the talent is in allowing those to come. One of the most foremost remote viewers is Joe McMoneagle. He was a remote viewer for the CIA and Operation Stargate, in which they were tasked to spy on the Russians by sitting in their offices in Washington and then spying on them by getting remote views of them out there in Russia. They were very successful. And Joe is the most successful. I'm going to show you what he's able to get so that you can see what this is like. This is a sketch that he did. And he did his sketch just by sitting in his office. He would warm down for about 45 minutes and relax himself. And then he would just focus on something. Like in this case, he was focusing on a picture. So someone told him, there's a picture here in this room, and we want you to look at it. And so he would focus on the picture, and this is what he drew. He drew power poles, and he had impressions of electricity, moving electricity in a grid. And then as a result of that, then this is what it was. So he was able to see that picture in his mind. He didn't have to be there. In other words, then the mind is not in the brain. The mind is outside of the brain, and as a result of that, it can go anywhere and it can see anything. And a person who is a remote viewer can do that at will, just anytime that they want to. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain a little bit about what this remote viewing thing is and why you can have remote viewing. If you recall the image of your childhood home, you recall the image of a favorite vacation, or you imagine what you're going to be doing this evening. And the image of your childhood home is in the past. The image of your favorite vacation is in some other location. And imagining what you're doing this evening is in the future, but all of them come into your mind just by intending to have them come. Well, the question is, where do images come from? And they come from universal intelligence that has every sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, thought, or feeling that has ever been and will ever be in human consciousness. And as a result of that, then you can ask for it. You can simply ask for it, and it will come to you. Now, our first indication, our first feeling is that it must come from someplace in space. But it doesn't come from space. These things come from the personal intellect, and there is no space, and there is no time. So we're able to get anything in our mind as experiences in the same way that we would if we were actually standing in front of something. So you can also get sounds, smells, tastes, touches. They're just accessible in the same way that any memory is accessible, regardless of where you are. Space makes no difference. Time makes no difference. So you can use remote viewing to view an object, a picture, a location, And any of those things can come to you if you just ask for them from the universal intellect. You'll have the experience of the object or the picture or location, just like a memory, because the remote viewed experiences come from the same source as memories, the universal intellect. You can also receive impressions about sounds and tastes and odors and sensitive touch. All will come to you. Some people are natively able to use experiences to get experiences of things they haven't had contact with, such as psychics, clairvoyants, remote viewers. The ability is also open to a number of people who don't have these native abilities because you can learn how to do this. For most people, however, the ability is there, but the mind won't allow them to be able to attune to these experiences. Now, if you're one of those, don't be disappointed, because if you're not successful at first or in the first few times you try it, you may be in that group that just needs training. So eventually you could learn how to do this. Now, clairvoyants will get a whole impression or image. Remote viewers usually get details, especially in the early days of learning how to remote view. However, you should not try to name anything that you're seeing. So don't try to say, oh, this is a mountain, or this is a stream, or this is a horse. So I'm going to give you an example of my remote view so that you can see what it is that I'm able to do, and then I'm going to show you how you can do the same thing. So I did some remote viewing for someone who wanted to see what remote viewing was all about. His name is Bill Walker. He's a senior software engineer at IP Keys Technologies out in New Jersey. Now, I'm in Illinois, and I didn't know Bill at all, and he simply sent me an email and asked me to do some remote viewing. So he said what he's going to do is he's going to put objects on a table in his home. That's all I needed to have. You just need some sort of a cue. The cue can be a coordinates, it can be letters or numbers or something associated with the image, or somebody can tell you, I have something on a table, I have something on my piano, and that's all you need to be able to remote view it. So what happened was that Bill Walker put something on his table. I sat in my office in Illinois and warmed down and just relaxed for a few minutes and started coming up with impressions. This is the first impression. I got an impression of a silver ribbed amber or gold thing. It had a dimple-like thing. I meant a button-like thing where the ribs come together. They're curved like a cupola. It's gold and brassy in color and round like a sugar bowl, but with a smooth lid. But it isn't a jar. It feels like metal. So then what he did, but then was to send back to me the picture of what it was. This is what it was, and this is the two of them together. Now, I'm sitting in my office in Illinois. He's out in New Jersey, and this would be impossible if my mind were confined to the cranium where my brain is enclosed. And so this shows that the mind is not in the brain, and there is no space, because these impressions come instantaneously. Just as soon as I ask, I'd like to see what's on the table in Bill Walker's house, then the impressions come to me. But my mind then decided to go around and took a tour of Bill Walker's house. So my mind started showing me all kinds of things on tables in Bill Walker's house. This is another impression I got. I got an impression of something in a pot. It was light peach. I'm not a great artist, so when I sketch, it just is something very quick that I make. It's light peach and it has like green vegetation, is my impression. He sent me back the picture of something on another table in his house, and this is what it was. So that's the impression. And you see that what I'm doing is I'm getting details. I don't get a whole picture of the flower. What I get is details, and that's what you'll get when you remote view, more than a whole picture of something. Clairvoyants can get a whole picture of something, but remote viewers will get the individual parts of it. Now, I'm going to give you an example of what that's like, so you see how you're going to be doing remote viewing. Let's imagine that you sit down and you want to do a remote view, and you're given a cue. A cue is, in this case, 4 letters. So it's GRBF, and the letters are meaningless. They have nothing to do with anything. There's no code in the letters. They're just letters that were assigned to the image. And so you sit down and you close your eyes and really relax for a few minutes. And after you've relaxed, then you ask to see GRBF. And what we do is we're going to be, as though that we're a blackboard, you're going to be drawing those letters across the blackboard very slowly and dreamily. not really focusing on them, just allowing them to come onto the blackboard. So you're going to be dreamily drawing G, dreamily drawing R, dreamily drawing F and B and F and so forth. And then something will come to you. Now, what you're going to get is you're going to get details, not the whole picture. You're going to get just the details. So your details might look something like this. So you're getting this detail, and then what you'll do is you'll sketch what it is that you get on a piece of paper. And then you'll describe it. You'll say, it seems to me like it's brown. I think it has a black stripe on it. And so you get those details and you write those down. And then you get another impression. You can close your eyes again and get more impressions. You get more impressions of something which is a drawing. They're just meaningless lines, but they're black lines. And so then you are going to draw that, and then later on you'll check to see whether that's part of the image. And then you may get an image that is it's green gray, and you have the impression that it's black stone, that there is a stone there. That's the texture that you get to it. You can feel the texture as though you were rubbing your hands over it, and you'll get the feeling like it's rough. And that's part of it. So what you're doing in remote viewing is you're getting all of these details. You're not naming what it is. You're not trying to give it a name. You're not trying to say, oh, this is a landscape, or this is a lion, or this is a horse. You're not trying to do that. What you're doing is you're just writing down the details of what you're getting, and then you can check out the details. So you've got these details. It is brown, black stripe at the bottom on the brown, black lines on the shape, stone. It's very old. You have the impression that it's very old. You get the impression of an animal, perhaps, and it's mottled green, gray, and light back. So you get all those impressions and write them down. And then once you've gotten them all, then you can check on the target, and you'll get the target, whatever it is. In this case, it's just a drawing of a horse. Now, I'm going to have you do that right now, because I want to see whether you're able to do that. And I want to give you a real opportunity to do it. And I'm going to try to prime you for this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to prime you by having you relax, and then I'm going to ask you some questions. And then I want you to allow free unfoldment. I want you to allow things to come into your mind. And then after that, then I want you to see if you can get the object on a stool that's next to my computer here in my office. So what I want you to do now is to relax and close your eyes. Just relax. Take it easy. Allow yourself to drift. Notice your breathing. You're breathing in and out. Feel yourself relax. Allow yourself to warm down. Go deeper and deeper. Relax. Let that warm feeling flow all over your body, from your head to your shoulders, to your back, to your stomach, and down to your legs. You'll feel warm and relaxed all over. This relaxation is coming to you naturally. It just feels good to just settle down, slow down, and relax. In this relaxed state, anything can come to you. Your mind is open, and your mind is part of the universal intellect. When your mind is part of the universal intellect, then the universal intellect will give you whatever you ask for. All you have to do is allow it to come to you. Now, what you're going to do is I'm going to give you some prompts, and I want you to have the first thing that comes to your mind come naturally. Don't try to imagine it. Don't try to create it. You're just going to allow the first thing that comes to your mind come. All right, now I want you to allow the universal intellect to give you a chair. That first thing that came to your mind is the chair. If you have to think about it, then you've gone too far. Allow the first thing come into your mind. It will unfold naturally all by itself. Next, I want you to allow the universal intellect to bring to your mind a flower. You should have a flower that came into your mind immediately. You didn't have to think about it. It came to you. I want you to allow the universal intellect to bring into your mind a smell that should have come to your mind immediately. If you're doing that, then you're allowing free unfoldment. And if you're allowing free unfoldment, now what I want you to do is I want you to enjoy this experience in free unfoldment. There are wonderful and unusual things that are going to be coming into your mind that you just allow them to unfold. You don't use your imagination. You don't try to imagine or remember something. You just allow things to come into your mind and leave, and they'll unfold, and then they'll go away. Allow them to happen right now. Allow unusual things, bizarre things, things you wouldn't expect to come to your mind and go. Okay, come on back now. And what I want to do is I want to have, by a show of hands, I want to know how many of you were able to allow things to freely come into your mind. Okay. Did you find, if anybody found yourself stopping because you were trying to think of the best thing or the most appropriate thing, or you were trying to remember something or imagine something, would you let me hear from you, because I want to counsel you and others will get the benefit of that. Is anybody who had that problem? That's super. Okay, very good. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be allowing free unfoldment. The first things that come into your mind, you're not going to imagine them. You're not going to try to remember anything that's in your memory. And this time we're going to be doing it. I want you to relax. And then after you relax, then I'm going to ask you to allow to come into your mind, on the blackboard of your mind, what is on the stool that's next to my computer in my office. And all you have to do is think about that. You don't have to know anything more than that. All you have to do is say, let me see what's on the stool next to Craig in his office. Okay, just a moment. Let me get you going here. Okay, can everybody see that? Okay, what I want you to do now is I want you to close your eyes and relax, to take a couple of minutes to relax. And after you relax, then I want you to say to yourself, let me see the object on this stool next to Craig's computer, and allow anything to come into your mind, whatever, no matter how bizarre it is, no matter how strange it is, just allow it to unfold without questioning it. Now I want you to sketch that or write down your description of it. Okay, this is the object that's on my stool next to me in my office right now. This is another view of it. And this is a third view of it. Okay, did you get details about that target, Tamar?
Hi. Okay, so this is what I got. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't show you because I'm backgrounded. I got basically what was, I believe, under the frog's mouth. So let me just show you this. It came almost like a dish or a bowl,
Okay.
and that's what I got.
Right. That's the most prominent thing on there. And so
Mhm.
you got the detail. That's what you'll get. You'll get those kinds of details. You won't get the whole picture. What you're going to do is you're going to get details. Anybody
Mhm.
else get anything? Okay.
The shape, I think, is about the most popular
You
thing
got
there.
that round area in the front
Yeah,
of on the left side. Yeah.
yeah, but I got stripes on it, either in blue or red, like bands.
Okay. Anybody else get anything? Sherry?
I got like this shape, and it had like these. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know if it was a pillbox with fancy work on it. I wasn't sure what I was seeing, but it kind of has the shape of it with these little silly, little squiggly things, like little flowers on it, which might have something to do with some of those marks that were on the creature. I don't
Yeah.
know.
And they
It's
could
got
have been
kind
the
of
bumps. They
yeah,
could have been the bumps that you. Mhm.
right, the bumps. I'm saying, and also the shape a little bit. But it was,
Yeah.
I didn't get that it was a frog. I just got this shape with these little bumpy things on it.
No, you won't get that. What you're going to get
Right,
is you're going to get those details.
right,
And then after you're all done, after you've finished getting all the details, then you can say, I had the impression it was something.
right.
I had
I
the
see.
impression it was a frog or something like that. Giles, what were you getting?
Can you see that?
Yeah. Now, what you did was you allowed your imagination to take over. So
Oh, I did?
you got impressions, but you said, oh, that's a cat. And so then
Oh,
your
no,
imagination then was feeding your perceptions, and your imagination was
actually,
making a cat.
actually what it was books. It was books and a flower pot, but then when I drew it, that's how I drew it. So it's interesting, but it might have been. You might be right.
I don't, I'm sorry, I don't know who's talking.
Oh, it's Janice. I'm the one that showed you the diagram.
Oh, I was talking to Giles
Oh, okay. Sorry
about
about
his
that.
cat. He actually drew a cat. Janice, I'm sorry. Go ahead and show us what you got.
Okay. I don't know if you can see it. I've never done this before. Can you see that?
No.
Just go ahead and describe it.
Okay. So basically, it looks like, how would you say it? It's like a square shape on a table, and above it, there's like a smaller sort of a square shape, which is a little bit smaller, and then there's a circle on top of that, and then building on that, there's a there's a couple other lines, sort of going more towards the, I guess you would say, towards the left. I'll try one more time. I haven't done this before in terms of showing a diagram, so you can't see
Yeah, we
anything,
won't be
right?
able to see it, I don't think.
Oh, there.
Yeah,
But
a little bit better. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Now, what you'll do then is everybody, you're going to be scoring those, and I'm going to show you how to score it. Just a moment.
So this is what I got. I got a circle. It was round, but I was also getting smooth, but textured. And I was confused because how could it be smooth yet textured? So then at one point I was feeling like my mind was coming in saying, could it be an orange? But then I just said, no, let that go.
Yeah.
Just go with what I was getting. So I just got like a round object, but the smooth came in right away. But then I was hearing yet textured. So I think the textured had something to do with the little things on the frog.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it could, but you're only going to accept the things that are definite hits. So accept the things that are unusual, they are unique to that target, whatever it is. Don't accept anything that's on almost or maybe.
Yeah.
And so then if anything is not, then don't accept that. And I'm going to show you how to score. Score them by taking each detail that you've written down, and each shape that you've drawn, and score each one of those individually. So yellow is 1 score, round shape below left, it should be below right. Below right is 1 score, bumps or raised is 1 score, smooth texture is 1. So for each one of the details, then score yourself as a yes or no. And you'll get things like plastic, you'll get the impression of plastic, or you'll get the impression of an animal, and that's okay. And then you may get the impression of a background. And so what you do is take each one of those details and you'll score it. And then once you've scored it, then you'll come up with a score. And the score then is going to be what you're going to be getting. So now, and you don't have to do that mathematically right now, but you can see based upon the number of details that you got about what your score is. If you get a score of around 66%, around 2/3, then that's very good. That shows some remote viewing ability. If you get scores of up around 40%, then you still may have remote viewing ability. It just depends on whatever the target is. You have to do a number of targets in order to really find out what your remote viewing ability is. And once you've done that, then you will be able to determine pretty well whether you're able to remote view. So let me stop now and answer any questions, because then I'm going to have you do some more targets. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I was just wondering, to figure out the percentage, you need to know the total number of criteria.
Right.
So how do you know how many criteria there are?
Well, you only use the ones that you've actually written down. So that for instance, if you write down 10 details and 8 of them are hits, then you got an 80%.
Okay, I got it. So I use my total number.
What your total is, right.
Okay, gotcha.
Right.
Perfect, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, just very quickly. So when we start, you showed the gray chalkboard, and then you said dreamily draw the letters in it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so I kind of disconnected. Like then we went to your experiment, and was I still supposed to do something about those letters, or just try to see on that chalkboard, the gray chalkboard, what it was that was next to you after I asked the universe to show me?
Yeah.
I did get something, by the way,
Yeah.
but I had a disconnect in the instructions.
Yeah. We're going to be doing letters and numbers from now on. So all the targets are going to have letters or numbers.
Okay.
And so I wanted to give you that first experience just to see if you could do something simple, which is an object on a table. But in that case, what you do on the blackboard is you will allow the blackboard to be empty, and you'll allow the universal intellect to fill it.
Okay.
So the universal intellect will fill it with an impression.
Okay, thank you.
It's the same thing, just to allow the blackboard to be filled with impressions. Anybody else have a question? Michelle?
Yeah, I seem to have gotten stuck still on the chair. Like I couldn't let the chair go. So my question is, do you have a chair with a book on it or a box?
No.
Okay.
No. And that impression, whatever you're getting, then if that sticks you, then you just have to clear your mind and go back to allowing your mind to be empty. And once your mind is empty, then go back into remote viewing whatever the subject is.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to have you remote view, and I'm going to have you use the chalkboard, and I want you to dreamily draw the letters on it. And as you draw the letters on it, I want you to allow that free unfoldment, same way that you just did with that target that was on an object on a stool in my office. And allow whatever comes to come. It can be bizarre, it can be unusual, but you have to allow it to come freely. Don't imagine it, don't try to make it into something. Just allow it to come freely into your mind. Anybody have any questions about doing that? Okay, let's go ahead and do that. These are the letters. And now what you're going to do is you're going to take KLBV. And when you relax and close your eyes, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be drawing those letters on the chalkboard that's in your mind, and just dreamily allowing them to draw. You're not going to be drawing them very well. You don't have to feel like you have something in your hand. Just allow them to come, allow them to appear on your mind. And as you do so dreamily, then you're going to allow shapes, anything to come to you. textures, sounds, any impressions that you get, and they are going to be about a photograph. That is KLBV. Does anybody have any questions about that? Okay, let's give it a try. What I want you to do is relax, take your time, and once you relax, then close your eyes, and I want you to go to have the Universal Intellect give you KLBV. And then sketch it on your paper. Okay, let's see what you got. This is the target. Now, score yourself by looking at it and saying, did I get red? Did I get
We can't see it,
mountain?
Craig.
What's that?
We can't see the target.
Can't see it? Wait a minute, I'm gonna have to share screen again. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay. So did you get anything? Did you get red, or did you get sky, or blue, rock, mountain, sandstone, anything of that sort? What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to open up the gallery so I can see. Okay, did anybody get any of the details? Brenda?
The only thing I could see very clearly was the blue sky. But I
Yeah.
was seeing, I don't know why, I was seeing like shades of brown, but for me, I think my mind took over because I was seeing a bear of some sort.
Okay, well, that's really good. In other words, if you're getting shades of brown and you're getting a hump, like a large object like that, then that's going in the right direction.
Oh, okay.
You should just record the details. Like you felt like you were getting a hump. Don't try to make it into an animal, or don't try to make it into something. Just write down that detail of what you were getting.
Oh, okay.
Anybody else?
Carly M has her hand up. Carly M has her hand up.
Hi, Craig.
Yeah. Hi, Kylie.
If you can see, I ended up with, I thought there was a cabin, but what I was definite about was the fact that there was very smooth land in front and a hill behind.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was kind of the same with the frog. I ended up with the angle and a circle. So I seem to be just getting the very outlines.
Yeah. And what you were getting, instead of making a cabin, you call it a cabin. So as soon as you say there's a cabin, then your mind takes over and it fills it in as a cabin. So it gives you all the details that a cabin has. And you'll leave the target then, and you'll go into your memory or your conception of what a cabin is. But what you did was you probably had, you noticed something in the front. You see that shadow there in the front? The large shadow?
Not really.
Yes. On the
I can on the rock.
You see the large shadow on the front of it?
Yeah.
There's a good chance that what you were getting that large shadow. Now, if you had described it as saying a dark area in the middle of it or something like that, or then you would have had the detail that would have shown that you were getting that part of the picture. So if you
Yeah.
stay with the details and don't try to name them, don't try to say it's a cabin, then you're going to be able to get the details. Once you get them all, you'll spend several minutes doing this with a target. And once you get all the details, then you can say, well, I have the impression it's a something. I have the impression that it's a mountain, or I have impression there's a cabin there, but stay with the details first.
Yeah.
Jane Lentz also saw something. You can unmute yourself, Jane, and speak.
Yeah, I was just seeing a mountain or a hill. That's basically what I was getting.
Yeah, and that's it. When you say you were seeing a mountain and a hill, what is the detail that you saw?
I was a little in my mind too much, thinking of a black and white photograph, but I was seeing on the right side a mountain or a hill, basically.
What are the details when you say it's a mountain? What is the detail?
Kind of a brown, but
Brown.
not this. Yeah, but not this deep reddish brown. Just a brown.
And it was a raised area.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
On the right side of the photograph. So
what was
progress? That's all I have.
Well, what was the texture? Okay. Yeah, you said it was a mountain.
Yeah, grainy. Grainy.
Okay. See, so what you're getting is when you say grainy, it's a large area. If you say that it's larger in the middle than in the right side, or on the right side rather than the middle, it's brownish in color. Those are all the details that you should record.
Okay.
Don't record that it's a mountain or a hill.
Yeah, I was getting this open space with all of these colors. It almost looked like when you look out onto an open area. But I thought it was the sun setting, but I was seeing a lot of reds and oranges and that kind of thing.
Okay.
So my mind automatically went to I know I was kind of competing with myself. Yeah.
Yeah. So as soon as you saw the red, you got it right. You had the red, and it's clearly that the sun is shining on it. But as soon as then you saw sunset in your mind, then your mind filled in a sunset. It gave colors, it gave you the yellows and the reds, and so your mind then took over, and you were no longer on the target.
Yeah, and then it added more stuff too.
Yeah.
So I think I had it, but then I let my left brain come in and talk me into what it was.
It'll start filling it in, right? And you don't want to do that. Stay with the details and just record the details. Anybody else?
I just wanted to share similarly. I did get a dark hole, and then I also got to the right of that mountain, there's kind of a zigzag shape in the shadows, and I got that zigzag shape, except I thought it was like metal teeth, but from some kind of scraper machine, but I got that same kind of zigzag thing. And then my mind started creating other things that weren't there.
Yeah, that's what happens, right? So then when your mind starts to create things, then stop. And then allow yourself to go, open up your eyes and allow yourself then to go back into the target. But as soon as your mind starts to create things, as soon as you start to name things, then you've lost the target. So but you did very well. The zigzaggy thing on the side, that's a good description of it.
I had the color red. I had the color blue.
Okay, you got.
I have this space red behind. I had the space behind me, and I had a breeze. But I did not have the picture of what's in front of me.
No, and you wouldn't get the picture, and so that's right. That's good. You got the color red and you got the color blue, but you would have to have other details that would fit in with those to make it a hit, to make it mean that you're remote viewing. Yeah. So you have to get textures, or you'd have to get the shape, or you'd have to get something else that would identify what it is.
What do the letters have to do with anything?
They don't have anything to do with anything. They're out of the billions and billions of things in the universe. your mind can access any of them because they're coming from the universal intellect. So you could remote view anything. You could remote view George Washington crossing the Delaware. You could remote view the planet Uranus. You can remote view anything in the universe, but you have to specify what it is. So the universal intellect needs to know what you have in mind. And so what you do is then you can have anything that has an association with the target, and you can make it up. So you can have 4 letters and say these 4 letters are going to be associated with Uluru, and that's all you need. And then the universal intellect takes that out to the whole universe. Everybody in the universe now knows that those letters are connected to Uluru.
All I got was vertical, horizontal lines, edges, thick, thin, brown, texture, and bark or wood. That's
Yeah.
it.
The big thing, brown, is right on the mark. That's what you got. Your mind then took you into a piece of wood. So in other words, your mind took you from the big brown thing into feeling like it's a piece of wood, it's bark, it's a tree. And so you were right in the first part. You got the right details, but then your mind took you to the next step, and that took you out of the target into your mind.
But does the target photograph not have the appearance of wood or the texture of wood or bark with the dark and the light shadows? Because the woman before that said that she saw the blue and the brown, to my mind, what came to me was she was actually either standing on Uluru or she was Uluru, and she was seeing what was outside from that viewpoint.
Yeah, and that's not what happens in remote viewing. So in other words, we can't say that within a mile of there is something. There are people standing there, and I had written down there were people standing there, or that there is a forest next to it. Those things you can't do that in remote viewing. You have to stay with what's in the target. So you can only use here what you see in the target and all of the details that are in it.
Hello, I actually just answered it because I
Okay.
realized that. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Cool. I was seeing now that the code that you're putting out is out to the universe intellect. That because of what you understand that code is, that we then get the visual or the sight or shown what it's about. So that, again, the mind to get out of it, that it just allow the imprint to come in and understand that that's, you know what it is, and yet the universe is bringing it in, imprinting it into us. Is that correct?
Yep. Just because of the fact that I had said I want this code to match that picture, then the universal intellect said, "Fine, that's okay. We're going to."
I love it. Yeah, I love it. That's
into our
great.
records, and someone else who looks at that code, they're going to get the same image.
Yeah,
because
gotcha.
our minds are one.
Yeah, my mind was trying to get around it, but then I realized it's your code. You understood it, and just
that's all it takes
for us to get out of the way and allow it to come. Yeah.
Yep. And allow the picture to come to you. Get all the details. Don't try to make it into something. And now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a link to. This is a link to targets. So if you get on this link, there are a number of targets that you can go to, and what will happen is you will sit quietly in front of the computer and you will click on the link, one of the links, and it will say to you, now close your eyes and relax, and when you relax, then get any impressions you can about that link, and you get numbers and letters. And then after you've done that, sketch them down, sketch what it is you think it is, write down your description of what you think it is, and then you can click on a link and it will show you the picture. And you can do that through dozens of them if you want. And then score yourself using that method that I taught you by writing down, take each detail one at a time, total the number of details you've got. If you've got 10 details and 8 of them were hits, definite hits, they have to be definite, then you have an 80%. And if you're getting 66% or better, then that's really good remote viewing. Anybody have any questions about that? Because I know we're out of time. Okay, Catherine, did you have a question?
Do you always need a number in order to remote view?
No. The first example that I gave you, you just knew that it was a stool on in my office. That's all you needed.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you need. And that's enough for the universal intellect to know what you want.
Okay. So if you put an intention out there in your mind, like
Just an
say
intention.
you want to remote view another planet or what's going on on another planet.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Ingo Swann, the remote viewer, remote viewed Jupiter. And he saw that there were rings around Jupiter. And this isn't Neptune, this is Jupiter. And everybody thought, oh no, the rings around Neptune, but not Jupiter. And so they did a flyby with a probe 2 years later, and they found that there were rings around Jupiter.
Wow.
So you can remote view anything in the universe. Everything is accessible to you. Every thought that was ever thought, every sight that was ever seen, every sound that was ever made, all those are accessible to us. We just had to have the right coordinates. We just had to know what it is that we're asking the universe for.
Thank you.
I do indeed, Craig, have a question. With the armed forces investigations, have they, first of all, there's two questions. Have they closed down this remote viewing initiative, or are they still active?
No, well, they closed it down officially, but we surmise that it's still active.
All right, so the NSA is still busy.
It did work.
Remote viewing where they can.
CIA that had done it, right.
The second question is, have they ever investigated how it happens?
It's because of the fact that we are one with everything in the universe. And all we have to do is relax our mind.
Yes, that's our knowledge. But what about the armed forces? What's their opinion?
That's all there is. So they couldn't have another opinion. There is no other explanation for it. It's because we have access to everything in the universe. And so,
okay.
Yeah.
That's strong enough.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay, that's it. Thank you. Oh, Lori's got one. Go ahead, Lori.
Sorry, can you just repeat what you said? What percentage makes it after you score yourself is really good remote viewing?
Well, it's just, based on what people get. If you're getting 66%, that's really good. You know, to say that you're getting 2/3 of details of these photographs, that's pretty good. And if you're getting 40%, it's a good chance that you are doing remote viewing. And if you're getting above that, then you're just clairvoyant.
Okay,
You're
thank you.
using remote viewing, you're using clairvoyance. If you try it on those targets that on that website and see what you come up with, and do maybe 10 or 15 of them and see what you come up with. And I will be, if there's enough interest, then I will be teaching the techniques that go beyond what we did today. This is just a measure of your native ability. And this is not part of the training. You'll actually go much further than this in the training. And you'll use techniques to be able to do remote viewing. So if there's sufficient interest, I'll teach a course in it. If you want to send me an email and let me know that you're interested, then I will keep tabs on it, on the number of people. So you can send it to r.craig.hogan @afterlifeinstitute.org.